미쉐린, 미식의 길을 안내하다. 미쉐린, Motion for Life.
글로벌 가치 창조 컨설팅 리딩 기업 마이더스 파트너스 그룹.
Feel the weight, but we aren't afraid to take the chances. It's every time we came out of the shadows. Celebrate. Celebrate.
미쉐린, 미식의 길을 안내하다. 미쉐린, Motion for Life.
글로벌 가치 창조 컨설팅 리딩 기업 마이더스 파트너스 그룹.
Feel the weight, but we aren't afraid to take the chances. It's every time we came out of the shadows. Celebrate. Celebrate.
After a long hiatus, welcome back one and all to the AMX Esports Junior Cup. Here we have our finale. My name is Connery Maddock. I'm joined by the ever wonderful and ever present Sumil Aurora as we head into the final round of competition here at the Charlotte Roval. Here under the lights as well, where we get to decide who gets that all-important scholarship money. If you're unfamiliar, AMX Esports looking to promote sim racing here in South Korea, and this is one of the series that they're using to do so, to help out some young sim racers through their studies via sim racing. It's a very important, very noble cause, Sumil, and certainly one that we are incredibly excited by.
Absolutely, Conry. Even though it's been a Yunho Park show for most of the year, there is genuine excitement around the battle for second place, and it's a big one. In the last couple of races, we've seen Kyoho Lee, we've seen Woojin Shin, Junwei Park. All these names come up and fight for podium places. And in the championship, Conry, things are getting properly spicy. When you consider the fact that all the big teams are watching this event, this could be huge for all the drivers involved.
Yeah, it could absolutely be so huge. But let's take a look at our details for today. I suppose here in this one we can take a look at what the state of play is of things coming into this round of competition. Of course, you have the generalized information there. Of course. Us here at RaceSpotTV running the streams here today. I've already said what the commentators are, myself and Sumil Aurora. With this Junior Cup, though, we do have 19 drivers that are aged 13 to 18 years old. Just before they get themselves to university, you would have thought, which is why the scholarship money is so important. We have a start format of having a rolling start here in the AMX Esports Junior Cup. We get points up to 15 points for first place possible for each round. And of course, everyone actually scores points here in this series down to 20th place, except from P11 down to P20. You get yourself just that single point. Our race administrators today will be a combination of both our own, provided here by RaceSpotTV, and of course, representatives from KARA, which is the Korean Motorsports Federation over there. So it's great to see those real-world guys get themselves involved. So here's the roundup. You know, we had a pretty long break between the 19th of August and today here on the 21st of October. That is a long break, Sumil, and I have to wonder how it's affected the drivers.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of them having other real-world commitments, and mostly it can be put down to studies, right? All of these are students. Well, they've had the time in the meantime, and the reason why we weren't quite racing is because COVID, of course, was slightly more prominent in Korea, and so everyone was forced indoors. But does indoors mean more sim practice time, or can it also mean more studies? And that'll be interesting to watch, because some drivers, particularly I fear Yunho Park, well, they have got the room to relax a little bit because they've basically sealed the championship. So would they be putting in as much focus in there?
Yeah, that's certainly one of the things to keep in mind. It could possibly be the case for some of them and not the case for others. There's the roundup of the format then. Of course, we'll get our 10 minutes of open qualifying started here in just a couple of moments' time. It's a 20-minute race here today. In the night, the damage is off for this one, as it has been for all AMX Esports Junior Cup rounds so far. And there's the confirmation of the fact that we do have a rolling start here in this one to get ourselves underway. So with all of that said, though, we do have a couple more things to talk about, one of which being the point situation here in just a couple of moments' time. There's the points, how the points are divided up over the course of the event, Sumil. But in terms of the actual points, it is Yunho Park that's, well, he's mathematically already won the thing, so technically, technically there's going to be no challenge there, but it's very, very close behind, though. We'll see in a couple of moments.
Yeah, absolutely. Woo Jin Shin, Hee Jung and Junho Jang, your main protagonists for second place. And the interesting part is, right, the gaps between P2, P3, P4 in terms of points may not look a lot in terms of a normal championship. But when you've got a battle so close that the difference between second and fourth is just 8 points, it makes a world of difference. And it's nice to see that their schools are represented here as well. And it's good to see that sim racing honestly can be a fuel to your formal education as well, right? It's recognized as a sport, much like, say, football or any other sport in South Korea would be as well, in terms of getting a scholarship, that is.
Yeah, so there's the roundup of the standings. Of course, Bach winning already. Wu Jinshin's very secure in second place, not mathematically just yet, but it would require a horrible situation and an amazing day for He Jung-an to be able to launch himself up into second place. What He Jung-an is more worried about is Junho Chang there, because they're tied on points for third place. That's one of your major prize. Well, that is their last prize-paying position here in this series, and they're dead even. Whoever finishes ahead in this race gets that prize.
Exactly, and that is going to be such a crazy one. The fact that it just rounds off at P3, the scholarship, and you've got two drivers tied in there. What more could you ask for, right? The anticipation and tension is real. It's not just about where you finish; it's also about that scholarship money, also about the pride. I mean, think of it. Would you prefer saying I was in the top four? Or would you prefer saying I was in the top three of Korea's best junior cup league? That would be the latter. And so, a lot is on stake here today.
Absolutely. Here's the rundown of the prizes, by the way. They get, for the first prize, you get 2 million Korean won. That's the equivalent of about $1,700. 1 million Korean won for the second place, about $850. And that final prize-paying position where those two drivers are tied on points for, well, that is 500,000 Korean won, about $425. So it's a little bit of a nice sum there for third place. That will be up for grabs here today. The front two spots are all but secure, of course. The first spot is secure. Second place will require a huge moment in the race to change. Here's a reminder of where we're racing at here today, though, the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval, and of course this is the most recent layout with the alterations to the chicane section. Of course, 16 turns here in this one, 3.66 kilometers in length. And of course, it got pretty rave reviews when it was first introduced to NASCAR competition just that couple of years ago.
It did, and the first time NASCAR came here, turn number one, mildly put, it was an absolute disaster, and that's mildly put because literally all the cars went screaming in to the first barrier. But that's NASCAR's, right? They're not designed to break in turn. This car that we have right here, oh man, it is just a proper beauty. And the Radical, it's made for tracks like this where there is constant change of direction, where you need high speed, where you need commitment, and more importantly, where you can properly test out the driver, which is why I think Charlotte may not be that bad of a circuit after all for a grand finale. And plus, they've had a bit of an experience right here in this circuit as well so far this season.
Yeah, and here's a little look at the car that we'll be racing here today. It's V8 power, 2.6 litre, 32 valve engine of the Radical SR8 V8 there. Fantastic stuff. So much horsepower in what is such a little car, and so light as well, less than a ton. There, as these things do go. It's a very demanding choice for what is supposed to be a junior championship.
I literally cannot describe the feeling of driving this car. It may look light, it may look like the furthest thing from a Formula One car, but when you're driving, it doesn't quite hit you that you're not doing 250 kilometers per hour or something quite like that. It's just the raw speed of the car, the urgency that you get while driving it, especially when you turn in. And there are so many corners at Charlotte where you can experience that turn in speed, and it would feel tremendous. It's just an amazing junior car. And I genuinely can't wait to see who can tame it. Now, driving it is hard enough, right? When you're in a pressure situation in a championship where you've got to finish in a top spot, and then you add on this car, it's a hard ask.
Yeah, it is so difficult, and we did see a couple of problems a little bit earlier on in the season with cars, with drivers not quite fully used to the way the racing works in the Radical and struggling to keep themselves on track. But we did see a continuous development throughout the season on the racing standards getting better, and with the overtakes getting more insane sometimes as well. These guys really know how to fight once they've learned to get to grips with the car. But like I said, though, in our little recap of all of the format and things like that, this is going to be a potentially tricky one for them because they haven't raced in a couple of months. That at worst case scenario. Of course, there are some drivers that that do the official iRacing thing. That's fine. That they can get practice that way. But for a handful of drivers, they still have rookie 2.5 license and a default iRating. So maybe they haven't gotten themselves onto track too much during the break. So again, we'll see. We're currently, now, I guess, underway in qualifying. Here we go then. Cars swarming out there, Sumo.
Indeed, yes, time for qualifying at the Charlotte Roval. And you mentioned a good point, Connery, about drivers potentially being a little bit rusty after having a 2-month break. And that's an important part about them not doing many official races. Thing is, it may not be the same competition, right? Sometimes the official races, they might have slightly better drivers or perhaps potentially worse drivers, depending on your I rating. But to be in a competitive race is a thing of its own. You can't simulate that unless you go out and do the real thing, right? I mean, going in a race. And when you're driving on your own, you can have hits like this one and things might be fine because you can just reset and get back in. But in a race, it's not the same thing. You feel the pressure, and that's the kind of pressure that we are going to be testing out today. And so I think everything is just favoring those drivers who have put in the effort back in the last couple of months.
Yeah, so we're having a look at what is the driver of Junghyun Choi out there on his qualifying lap for the moment. It wasn't an ideal first flying lap here, but thankfully it is open qualifying here in this series, so these drivers can afford to make a couple of mistakes here and there in the opening parts of the session, and then try and chase the time a little bit more as we get into the back end of the session. But you certainly don't want to be limiting your opportunities to try and get a fast time, though.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you've got to do, right? With these open qualifying sessions, your attempts are also limited. So you've got to just go out there and make the best of your time. Because really, how much have you got? 8 minutes? What can you do in 8 minutes apart from some really good handy laps if you've got all things ready? And that's why I love qualifying. It just puts you in that bottleneck situation when you've got to deliver now, and Junghyun can't quite do that because his car snaps on the curb. Is that pressure? Is that just maybe lack of practice? Who knows?
Yeah, we will. It's such an unfortunate situation for him. Another little lap that maybe it may has gone a little bit wrong here. Interesting webcam here for Kai Ho-Lee. He's like really tilted down. Enough to see him actually on the face, but we will just roll with it. He hasn't set himself a qualifying time here just yet, and well, we can pull up the time on the board. It's a for as far as the pole position time is concerned, Junghyun Choi 1:45:05 has been the best time so far, so that's the baseline for Kai Ho-Lee to go chasing afterwards. Of course, they're allowed to dip down onto the apron here. That is completely indeed allowed to just use the road version. Of course, if we're on the oval version, then dipping down there would not be allowed, but these guys are confident in the downforce of the car to stick it down there on the roadside where it isn't a penalty to do so. So Kai Ho-Lee across the line then. That is not going to be a valid lap, so this is going to be his flying.
Indeed, yes, and watch out for this middle sector. Watch out for turn 4, turn 5. This one, this is where your car really swings out wide as Kai Ho-Lee does something similar. But the good part is he was able to keep it under control. The car really bottoms out, right? When you're just exiting the banked sections, the car really wants to snap on you, especially on the exit of turn number 4. They're keeping it clean, and that's what matters in qualifying.
Yep, Seungyeon Kang, out into the grass. That's going to be an invalid lap there. Remember, in iRacing, if you get yourself an incident point, or even technically not an incident point, if you get a 0x over the course of a lap, that is going to be your lap time invalid. So going off track like that, that is 1 incident point. So Seungyeon Kang certainly not going to be happy with that one. So with coming up to 5 minutes left to go, we have the number 13 of Hee Jung-an. So Hee Jung-an certainly putting down the pace here, all things considered. And, well, he's certainly been practicing, let me tell you that, because he seems to have gone from strength to strength over the course of the season. Of course, it takes a while for you to remember back to the last couple of rounds of the season, but he was constantly getting better, wasn't he? And starting to challenge Yunho Park. Of course, speaking of Yunho Park going fastest now, but yeah, his development for the season has been pretty good.
It has, and Hee Jung-an has really developed into a strong competitor. And you compare where everyone is, he's taken provisional pole again. And look at where his critical rival is. Where is Junho Jang? Nowhere to be seen so far. And again, we've got time left in qualifying, but he really needs to set in something in the top 2 to make sure that he's the one who gets the scholarship. Because unless something dramatic happens at the top, Hee Jung-an could potentially run away with it. And that shows you that development aspect, that he's actually able to beat Yunho Park. But honestly, I get a really similar feeling to what's happened so far in all the qualifyings of the season. Somebody has beaten Yunho Park by a couple of tenths with 4 minutes to go. You know what that means?
Reminds me, Sumo. Reminds me.
It just clearly means that Yunho Park is going to come out there and he's going to beat them with a tenth. It's always happened this single time. This guy is just ice cold, seriously.
Yeah, look at how focused he is there. This isn't out lap for him. This won't be a valid lap here, given it's a handful of seconds slower than his best lap. But now it is go time here for Yunho Park as he trails Lee Jung-an by about 0.3 of a second at this rather later stage here in qualifying. And well, the qualifying efforts for Yunho Park have been a little bit lacking over the last couple of rounds. So, you know, the other competitors have certainly stepped up to his level. It's not so much that he was going through a bit of a slump, but his situation here in the final maybe is just to have a little bit of fun in all actuality, because he's already secured that front spot.
Exactly. No, the reason why we saw a bit of a dip in his performance in qualifying was because he had to focus on the main AMX ESPORTS Championship, which he is also leading, by the way. So that's why his preparation went towards that direction. But I wanted to focus on his onboard. He's one of us. He turns when the car turns. And I mean, we all know it's basic racing law, right? Racing simulator, racing game law. That if you turn your head according to the corner, you will go faster. And you know, he's using that to his advantage right now in his laps.
He's abandoned this lap though, so going slowly into that chicane. So another attempt here for Yunho Park, and he's starting to run out of attempts. It's going to be pretty sketchy to get a time faster than Hee Jung-an at the end of this session, where the pressure is so high. See another car comes. Is that Kai-Ho Lee coming down? No, it's not Kai-Ho Lee. It's one of the other. It's Hee Jung-an, I believe it is. Yes, it is Hee Jung-an coming down on towards the pit lane. So getting mixed up between the two orange-themed cars in this race. But for the likes of Yunho Park, well, still 0.3 of a second off, but still an opportunity before this session is done to try and get ahead. Hee Jung-an come down on towards the pit lane, like you just saw. Potentially might be able to get out and get across the line to start another lap here, depending on the exact timing of things, but it is cutting it close. We're having a look at Sung Yong Kang at the moment, who's down in 6th place. He's about a second off of Hee Jung-an's time.
And where is his main rival, Kyu-ho Lee? Kyu-ho is in 3rd, Sung Yong Kang is in 6th. They have only got a 3-point difference to each other in the championship for that crucial 5th spot. Sung Yong Kang cannot afford to lose too many positions early on. He just has to capitalize on that, because if he just stays where he is, Kyu-ho will take it away. Kyu-ho will become your 5th place finisher. And Sung Yong Kang, the way he's been guarding so far this season, Lime Rock comes to mind. He would want to get a hold of the top 5, seriously.
Yeah, he would. So Sung Yong Kang across the line. And, well, lots of room for improvement, I'll say, for the driver of the 87. He has been impressing us in a good couple of rounds so far this season. Who's this? Number 95 with his Jinwook Choi. Wow. So he's 8th place at the moment. Again, still lots of room for improvement here. Lots of time still left out there on circuit to be able to get himself further up the field. Not expecting things at the very top of the pile for Jinwook, but certainly maybe a little bit further forward than 8th place here today as it is. But we're coming towards the very end of the session now. 6 seconds left remaining as Jinwook Choi just has to abandon the chicane there. There's Junho Chang actually coming across the line to get 3rd place just before the session is done. Checkered flag is out. Drivers will be able to complete their laps here. But it's just a case of what the laps are, because Yunho Park, I think, has already come across the line. He's only just shy of 0.2 of a second behind Hee Jung-an. And it might mean that Hee Jung-an's gotten himself pole position here for this one. You can see Barney the Flagman just waving very vigorously the checkered flag as the drivers start to come across the line. Yeah, Yunho Park, he didn't have enough in him to be able to get himself up into pole position. Hee Jung-an's got it.
What a way to bounce back after a terrible second to last round in the season. Hee Jung-an only got 1 point there. Now he's primed up to take the whole 15, but first he's got to survive a Yunho Park barrage from behind, and that will be quite a sight.
It will be a couple of drivers still out there just finishing their laps. Let's see what they could do. As it's the 225, I believe, Jung Hyun Choi across the line and not able to improve. However, we did have a driver that did not set a time. That is Hong So-jang. So that is number 50 car. That's going to be your 13th car here today. Wasn't able to get a lap together. So he'll be starting at the very back of the starting grid here today. But as we wind down this session, then 15 seconds maximum left to go here in this one. And is this Tae? No, it's not Tae Kim, it's number 4. So it's Woo Jin Shin across the line, 5th place. He slows up before the line, so that's not going to be a representative lap time for the number 4 car. But that is the session completely and utterly done here at the Charlotte Roval. And we can get ourselves in a couple of moments, the starting grid for today's event. Here we go then. Hee Jung-an in pole position with Yunho Park in P2, Junho Jang in P3, Kaio Lee in P4. Woo Jin Shin will start in 5th with Sung Young Kang in 6th place. And cycling things back, Jung Hyun Choi in 7th, Jingwoo Choi in 8th, Jung Hyo Kim in P9 with Woo Jae Sung in 10th, Yoo Jun Choi in P11 with Taehyun Kim starting in 12th, and the driver that didn't set a lap time in that qualifying session, Hong So-jang, will start in that 13th spot. So that's the top to tail of the starting grid here in the AMX Esports Junior Cup. And well, drivers getting themselves to the starting grid now. I certainly can't wait to get this thing started. It's been a whole season's worth of effort for these guys to get themselves into this position, and it's the best that we can hope for here in the final round is a good race, no matter the result.
Seriously, and I know it's probably the most used cliche in the world of broadcasting, but come on, I butchered it, haven't I? All's well that ends well. It was a bit of a tongue twister, but seriously, it is well if you ended off on a good note. And that's what matters for all these drivers. And so many of them, Conry, literally almost half the field is involved in some sort of battle or the other in the point standings. And they are, almost all of them, very close to their major rivals. This just makes it extra special, the final round.
Yeah. Here we go then, as we'll get ourselves a view of the starting. Of course, they line up in a bit of a weird fashion here at the road course at Charlotte. They line up in that awkward little offset and at an angle line. So hopefully that's not going to cause them too much of a trouble here. We do have also a full pace lap here. That's the only option that we had to start off this race. So it's going to take a little bit of time before we get ourselves going here, but hopefully it shouldn't be too big of an issue as the drivers start to roll off the starting grids and take us around a rather slow first lap here at the Charlotte Road Course.
I wonder what the feeling might be like between Hee Jung-an and Junho Jang, the two major protagonists, I think, for P3 in the championship. Scholarship on the line, pride on the line, and they've literally invested so much time into this. And Hee Jung, pole position, Woojin just has to, and Woojin and Jinho both have to come up with just something special to topple him right now and actually make sure that they're not in a big deficit, because if they are, the gap is minimal.
Yep, it really is. After the first couple of laps are done here, we'll pull up the live points, and we'll be able to see what the picture is regarding those positions. Of course, Yunho Park, he can just not turn up to this race, and he would have won the championship. But he is here and he is racing today. He's starting from P2 though. Hee Jung-an. Well, he's the driver that's got himself a lot of pressure here at the moment, because he's got drivers not too far behind him for, well, I say not too far behind him. It's still mathematically unlikely that someone will be able to pass him for P2, but it's for the situation for him in particular though. This will be the cherry on top of what has been a great development throughout the season for the driver of the number 13 car.
Exactly, and there's just been great performance after great performance after great performance, and you wonder, with time going on and with him getting more races and perhaps in bigger championships in terms of the age group, where you don't really have an age group, what more can he do? It's just a frightening prospect, really.
It is, as the pace car winds through the second NASCAR turn here on the way down the back straight. You can see the drivers looking to try and get some tyre pressure and tyre temperatures to get them in the right operating window, because that's been an issue that we've seen over the course of this season as well. The opening lap can be quite hairy with these cars.
It can be, especially flooring it down with cold tyres. How tricky will that be? And turn number 1, I mentioned just casually that NASCAR had all their cars crashing at turn number 1 when they went there the first time out. It's a realistic possibility. It's cold tyres, cold brakes, and perhaps drivers that are a bit too excited. It could just happen, you know?
Yeah, absolutely could. So through NASCAR 3 and 4 for the final time here on the pace lap. Once the pace car drops in and away, we'll get ourselves the green flag, which will dictate the start here. And, well, here we go. Maybe going a little bit before the green there is Lee Jung-an, as we'll get the final race of the season underway here in the AMX Esports Junior Cup. And this big incident at the back. Woo Jae-sung and Yujin Choi have gone hard into the wall there in the very background of the shot on the start. That's not exactly ideal, but for everyone else in the front two-thirds of the field, it's been okay. Someone's having a big moment. Jung-Hyo Kim out into the wall through the first sector, but I revisit my point and say the first half of the field got away well.
Yeah, exactly. That got a bit too chaotic, a bit too quickly. A couple of cars really contacting, or making contact rather, before the first chicane, which is just absurd to see. But hey, stuff just happens at the top. Good stuff is happening. Really good stuff is happening. That gap isn't too big, but they're pulling away from everyone, which is just tremendous, scary. I don't know, mixture of the two.
Yeah, they've gotten themselves a good first lap here, but Hee Jung-an and Yunho Park a little bit sketchy coming into that backstreet chicane for the first time there. Car not settled. Maybe the tyres still have work to do to try and get themselves up into the right point, but here's the battle behind them as well. This is Kai-Ho Lee, Junho Jang, Sung Young Kang, all fighting it out. Junho Jang and Kai-Ho Lee side by side into the last corner chicane here, and well, Kai-Ho Lee able to maintain position for now, but Junho Jang's not going to give that one up without a fight, and Sung Young Kang waiting in the wings as well. Certainly has had a good couple of races so far this season, as that was Junho Jang there, I believe, out into the wall, but thankfully damage is off. Of course, there were some changes recently in a recent build of iRacing that with the no damage option on, the cars still technically get visual damage for about a second and a half, but then just gets repaired, which is why you see the damage popping in and out.
And Junho Jang needs P3. He just desperately needs P3. For more context, in case you forgot, which is hard to do considering how crazy their battle has been, Junho is in a fight, a straight fight with Hee Jung-an. They're both tied on 72 points, and here's him trying on the outside.
And out into the, out into the miles of runoff that chicane goes Kai-Ho Lee. So Kai-Ho Lee has a massive slowdown penalty as a result of that one, cutting across that much across the chicane. So Junho Jang, well, that's going to be an easy position for him, and it's one of the positions he so desperately needs, because let's have a look at the live championship standings right now. Hee Jung-an still in second place there. He's doing pretty well, although Woo Jin-shin, all things considered, still very threatening behind. And you can see, that's just changed over as we speak, so something must have happened out there on circuit to put Woo Jin-shin up into second place. Junho Jang in fourth place. Oh, he's out into the wall, and now he's going to be tumbling down that points order. Who was that? No, it wasn't. It wasn't Junho Jang, thankfully. We had a little bit of confusion with the graphics there. It was Jung-Hyo Kim. Tim Tae-hun Kim. There we go. We'll get that in the right order eventually.
Yeah, Tae-hun Kim having a tricky year so far, and that's just compounded by this incident. And I don't blame you, Connery. That was super confusing. That was super confusing to see who it was, and also to avoid it, because that is a corner that's nearly blind. And what's really interesting is you can barely do anything to avoid that. But look at this difference in styles, difference in approaches. Yunho clearly going to the outside. Ijing says, right, I'm going to go for the conventional inside line. Oh, I love this. It's just adding more layers. And Yunho with the outside line has set a fastest lap.
Yeah, he has. He really has. And this is such an important position for Hee Jung-an to be in, because he needs to win this race, and he needs Woo Jin to lose a position right now, because they're both tied on 87 points. So that's an interesting situation there. We'll have to try and get the and see how those points file out. It doesn't seem too correct for me, but I'll just double check and fact check that entire situation there. But we're running on board with Junho Jang at the moment, and well, I'm starting to lose a little bit of Yunho Park, sorry. I am getting confused here. This is my crazy sort of couple of minutes here where I'll get everything wrong. But yeah, Yunho Park we're riding on board with here as he tries to track down Hee Jung-an. Dropping off the back a little bit here. Maybe he's just conserving himself for now to have a little bit of a strike later on.
Exactly, and with Yunho Park, you know that race psychology isn't quite a problem in the major series, and in the, I wouldn't say senior AMX Esports Championship, but you get the idea, right? He has been the most consistent and the most smart driver, all while just being under 18. He's dominated, he's won races, he has come back from the back of the grid and has taken podiums as well. Whatever circumstance you give to this guy, he delivers. Hee Jung-an is fighting back, and that is lovely to see.
Yeah, this is absolutely crucial here for Hee Jung-an, as he continues to lead this race for the moment, but he has the driver that has been oh so competitive throughout the season, just sticking right behind him and continuing to apply the pressure at this stage. Everyone else has kind of filed out a little bit in terms of their battles up and down the field, but this one for the race lead is still so close with about 14 minutes left to go.
And what I've really found interesting is that Yunho Park only for one lap went to the outside line. He's still tucked back into the inside. So I wonder what's happening there with his stake, but there's a biggie.
16, Taehyun Kim, another problem. That's unfortunate. There's let's see what happens to Taehyun actually. Just waiting it through on this replay. But yeah, it seems like Taehyun has not had the most ideal of races so far in this one. Still down in P11, which is not last place, so I guess he's got that going for him. But when the racing's like this, it's not exactly ideal. But we're back to the live pictures now, by the way, as we're watching Yunho Park continue to try and do something about that number 13 ahead of him.
Indeed, it's hard to find positives if you're someone like Taehyun Kim, but there are positives and positives if you're Hee Jung-an. As it stands, there's a good chance you might just end up with second place, even though you came in hoping that you might just get third. Yunho's sliding, Yunho's slipping around. You can see he's attacking corner. He is right on the edge, and so is another driver, I suspect.
Yeah, absolutely on a knife edge. Sometimes these cars can be very hard when you're trying to push them so hard. The car sometimes just doesn't want to comply with you whatsoever, and likes to step the back end out. But these drivers keeping it together for the moment, which is absolutely fantastic to see. We're having a look at the number 15 car and the 2225. So this is Kai-Ho Lee and Jung-Hyun Choi here. We're on board with Jung-Hyun Choi. In fact, as again, he needs to tilt his camera down and zoom in a little bit. We see his entire wardrobe here. Let's see what he has. Nothing particularly exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Some brown shirts, brown shirts, grey shirts. I'm sorry, I just get the colors mixed up for no reason. Yeah, they look fine. Not as exotic as his car's livery, to be honest with you, or not as flashy as his driving style as well. But maybe that's a wardrobe chosen by mum and not himself.
Yeah, and potentially that's accidentally pretty savage for you there. That's a little bit mean, to be honest, as we'll get to see the fight between Jung-Hyun Choi and Kai-Ho Lee then, and it gets a little bit too close for comfort through the first 8 of the corner, but somehow they're able to get away with it. Jung-Hyun Choi squeezes himself ahead by the skin of his teeth.
Let's just see, as I told you, racing is far more lively than the wardrobe. His driving style is just superb. The fact that he was able to go out there and say, right, stop right here, mate. This is my position. That was just tremendous. And that chicane, I wouldn't dare making a move right there. But doing it on the outside, full credits. That was just tremendous.
Yeah, it is absolutely incredible. Let's see a replay of that situation then, perhaps, as we had a driver at the back of the field. Is this Taehyung Kim again? Because I fear it might be. No, it's the number 50, so...
Oh my god.
That's Hong Seo-jang having a moment. He didn't set himself a time in qualifying, so it was always a day constantly on the back foot for Hong Seo, but that certainly doesn't happen. What's happened to Kyo Lee? He's down on the pit lane.
This is interesting. This could be absolutely huge. In terms of the championship, Kyo Lee, well, he's in a big fight for P5.
I wonder if he
okay?
got DQ'd, because he did get a drive-through penalty assessed by our race administrators. He must have not served that. That's... Oh no, actually, maybe not. Kyo Lee. Well, we'll hopefully get ourselves a replay just to see what happened there. I did see someone get a drive-through penalty. I think it was Jungkook Kim that was gotten themselves the penalty, and they're still out there. So something separate must have happened to Kyo Lee.
Which is interesting, because he was seemingly going fine. There was just nothing happening right there. All of a sudden, you see him go out. So that is very curious. But I wonder if Sung Yoon Kang is aware. Because if he is, he can just breathe a breath of fresh air right now, more relaxed air. Because sometimes, I mean, clearly in the case of Ayrton Senna versus Nigel Mansell back in the day, Senna wasn't aware that Nigel Mansell actually had been black flagged. So he was racing him, and eventually they had a crash where Senna got taken out of the lead, and that year he lost the championship. And so, you've got to be aware of those things, unless, I mean, if you're not, you can end up making a decision that could cost you your championship. And I hope Sung Yoon Kang doesn't quite do that.
Yeah, on board with Yunho Park, though. Let's pull up the live championship standings once again. On the right-hand side, Woo Jin Shin is ahead by a point at this point. So even with Lee Jung-an winning this race, Woo Jin Shin is just doing about enough there in P4 to be able to secure that second place in the standings. Junho Jang, a little bit, well, he needs to have a miracle here. He's 7 seconds back off of P2. He needs to join this fight and pass a couple of cars if he wants to improve position up into P3 or P2 there on the live standings. So it's a big task for him to do. But yeah, this is starting to get a little bit sketchy, because now Hee Jung-an has to hold on to this position, hold on to the race lead. But even that might not be enough if Woo Jin Shin doesn't fall back from P4.
And that's just like Felipe Massa versus Lewis Hamilton, Brazil 2008. I mean, who's going to be the Glock right here? I wonder.
Yeah. I don't want to say the line, Sumo, okay? That's all I'm saying. I don't want to say the line. But with 8 minutes left to go, Hee Jung-an still leads from Yunho Park. These guys have had their fair share of very intriguing battles over the course of this season. It looks like we're going to get one in the final couple of moments to top it off as well. Yunho Park, the gap fluctuating between sort of about 2-3 tenths of a second and 27-8 tenths of a second. So that's coming in and out. But the thing is, on this particular lap, Yunho Park is almost riding on the, well, these cars don't really have a rear bumper, so I guess the rear wing of that car. Oh, and Hee Jung-an making some mistake through the infield section, and that's Yunho Park's opportunity to head his way down the inside. He's not able to get it done through there, though. Now up onto the banking in just a couple of moments. That was a heart-in-mouth moment for Hee Jung-an.
Seriously was, and he's the most vulnerable right now. His major rivals, Woo Jin Shin, he's got a big gap to Sung Yoon Kang. Junho Jang, well, he's got a big gap to Woo Jin Shin as well. The most vulnerable driver who needs the most points right now is Hee Jung-an. And he's in the tricky slot where he's been pushed by the best driver in this series. End off, I mean, literally, he's no one better. He's won the championship by miles.
He's got a bit of a slipstream up behind the car, and now into the braking zone of turn 1. Just biding his time for the moments here. Of course, we had used a little bit more on the pace level compared to normal. Maybe the things are a little bit more marginal on fuel than we expect. But hopefully there are no issues like that here in the final couple of moments of the race. 6.5 minutes left to go. A good handful of laps to get under our belts before we get ourselves, well, we can already crown a champion, that one's for sure, but in terms of P2 and P3 though, that is still undecided, and well, the result of it might not depend on this battle at the very front.
Exactly, and that's what we like to see, right? Only 6 minutes left to go until this championship comes to an end, but the drama is still there. There's still excitement in the air, and most importantly, intrigue about who is going to be the one sealing off second place in that title. And Yunho, now, what sort of frame of mind would Yunho be in, Connery? Because he single-handedly could determine the order of all the positions behind him in the championship order. Does he gun for it, or does he say, "Nah, you can have your good race"?
If Yunho Park gets into an accident while in the process of battling Lee Jung-an here at the end, and Yunho Park falls behind Junho Jang and Woo Jin-shin, then that might give him enough points, so at least Woo Jin-shin enough points to be able to get past Lee Jung-an. So I don't think Lee Jung-an's going to be too unhappy if Yunho Park pins it in a wall here, because it would really help him out. Well, actually, he needs Yunho Park to try and stick behind him. So it's in his best interests to stay respectful here. It changes the story somewhat, doesn't it?
Exactly. Oh man, so many layers to this championship fight. That's not very peaceful, is it? But whatever, Lee Jung-an is able to hold on. Oh, I get a feeling, Connery. I get a feeling this could be it. Yunho looks closer than he has ever been. This could be it.
It could be down into the chicane. No, that's going to lift out. So this is a really conservative drive, actually, for Yunho Park here. He's backing off with the throttle down into these chicanes and everything here. So maybe a little bit not wanting to disrupt the battle for P2 and P3, potentially knowing that he has the championship and he doesn't want to affect anything else.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, exactly. But this is not the best thing to see, I mean, to be totally fair. You know Yunho Park as a driver, I mean, we all know Yunho Park as a driver who attacks all the time and is very smart with his racecraft. But this is, maybe he's just understanding the broader picture. And again, that would be smart, but not as entertaining.
So, here comes... Oh! That is...
Rejoin.
Yeah, good job we cut away before the rejoin happened. That's all I'll say.
Man.
But big incident down the field. It was in one of the black liveried cars again, which usually suggests either Sung Young Kang, and he's still in this race, so good decisions, it's not him, or Tae Hyun Kim, who's in the other black liveried machine as well. So possibly more issues for the driver of the number 16, but coming towards 3 minutes to go. We're doing lap time. We're doing 1 minute 11 in terms of lap time, so still a good couple to go at this point, and we'll probably cross the line with about 3 minutes left to go. At first, Yunho Park still second, but Yunho Park hasn't been aggressive in any way over the last couple of laps. Yes, he's stuck it down the inside and tried to take the position when the opportunities have arisen, but he hasn't tried to manufacture a move of his own accord.
And you know he can. You know deep down that Yunho Park can. And there was one area where Lee Jung-an made a mistake exactly in this part of the circuit. But Yunho didn't bounce on it as aggressively, and that gave you a feeling. And then, of course, knowing this as we know right now, that he's probably taking it a little bit lighter.
Look at this gap for P3. Junho Jang is certainly being caught by Woo Jin-shin. If
You're right.
Woo Jin-shin is able to get this pass done, that will put him ahead of Lee Jung-an on points, I think.
You're right. And that would be dramatic. And he's catching him at an alarming rate. And now, all of a sudden, that gap's built up by 1/10 of a second. Again, commentators curse, guys. You know how to do it. But there still is time. There still are 2 minutes left. And it's Charlotte. Drama happens at Charlotte all the time in NASCAR, so why not here?
So across the line then, this is going to be 2 to go. With 1:52 left on the clock. So not long to go at all until we get to the final stages of this one, as here's Yunho Park continuing to try and hound down and chase the race leader. This is all for pride for him as far as the race win is concerned. He's already gotten himself the championship in the bag, but another race win to add to his name before we're all done here at the Charlotte Road Course. That will be all that he wants at this stage, and well, he's playing things very calculated at the moment. No! Lee Jung-an, he clips the wall onto the banking, he gets spat out, and he's lost the race lead to Yunho Park. This plays into Woo Jin-shin's hands.
What just happened? This is just absolutely Brazil 2008 level stuff. But this time there's no external party. It's the leader himself. Is Hee Jung-an making a mistake? Let's run on board with Yunho to see exactly what happened to him. And oh no, it's the wall. No. Oh man, how do you even console him? And I wonder what the impact is like on the life points. I wonder what it's like. It's just the most lightest of errors, Connery.
That might be it. Hee Jung-an is, well, he's still remaining about that second behind Yunho Park, but a second behind is simply not going to be enough here at these very final stages. By the way, Wu Jinshin and Junho Chang have got even closer since when we last talked about it. Here's the live standings. There's the confirmation. Wu Jinshin, due to Hee Jung-an dropping back to P2, Wu Jinshin is now second place in the live points.
Oh my word, but he still keeps it. I mean, there's a big difference between second and third in terms of the scholarship money, but what's crazy is that if Junho, well, it's still a bit of a losing effort for him, isn't it?
Hang on. Hee Jung-an. Oh, what's happened here? What has happened here? Because Hee Jung-an's been let through into the race lead by Yunho Park. I don't know whether what that situation is there, but Hee Jung-an coming up towards the start-finish line, and as a result of that, Wu Jinshin's dropped back a position, so that's unfortunate for him coming in these final moments of this race. But Hee Jung-an, with a little bit of confusion at the end there, comes across the line and wins the finale here at the Charlotte Road Course in the AMX Esports Junior Cup. What happened to Wu Jinshin at the end there, I do not know. That might be crucial in his battle with Junho Chang there for the third spot in the championship. But that's a little bit of a weird one. I will say that. Did Yunho Park accidentally get a slowdown penalty through the chicane on the last lap there? We do have to wait and see.
It's hard not to be suspicious about this.
And it's tight. The points are tied between Wu Jinshin and Hee Jung-an, so that might not even been enough, depending on how the wins work out.
Yes, exactly. Oh my word. I do not believe what kind of a finale we've seen right here. Let's attack things systematically. Attacking curves is not a good idea, as we saw from this replay. I suppose it's Jin Wook Choi making that error on the final lap, but let's break it down, Connery. In this finale, not only have we seen Yunho Park being confirmed as a champion, but we saw him let Hee Jung past. And is that an agreement of sorts? Is that just Yunho getting a slowdown? I don't know. This is just a bizarre one. But he still doesn't get second place in the scholarship, which is just even more crazy.
Yeah, we will get ourselves the confirmation of things in just a couple of moments' time. But what we can confirm, though, is the fact that Yunho Park, of course, is your AMX Esports Junior Cup winner here at the Charlotte Road Course. Of course, that was a guarantee in the final couple of, coming into this final race, given that he was mathematically just too far ahead to be able to get himself up into, to be able to be challenged by a couple of drivers behind. But let's have a look then at the race results here from the Charlotte Road Course for the final round of the season. Hee Jung-an by 2.5 tenths of a second. We'll see how that one works out, because I think this, if that was Yunho Park letting him go for any reason, the stewards might even have a look at that with regards to sportsmanship. But with Junho Chang in P3, Sung Yong Kang in P4, Wu Jinshin in P5. That's the top 5. Then you got Jung Hyun Choi in P6, Jin Wook Choi in P7, Woo Jae-sung in P8, Hong So-jang in P9, and Yoo Jun Choi in P10. And then you have a look towards the very rear end of the field with the retirements. Tae-Hen Kim, Jung Kyo Kim, and Kai-ho Lee in that final and 13th spot. So it wouldn't be a finale. I said this at the when we did one of the English broadcasts with Porsche at Deutschland here on RaceSpotTV. It wouldn't be a finale without a bit of drama. And that's exactly what we have gotten here. So we're a little bit dumbfounded with regards to that. We'll get an update from the race administrators as soon as we are able to here in this one. But of course, Seoul, that's the season done now, and we do of course have a winner, Yunho Park. What can you say about his season all the way up until this point? Especially it was critical in the early portions of the season that he was able to get so far ahead due to the development of everyone behind, especially Hee Jung-an. So a well-deserved season win, and of course he does get that the most scholarship money out of this one as well, 2 million won, which is going to help a whole bunch, a 1.5k dollars, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
So it does work out pretty well for him, and I hope he spends the money wisely if he gets a choice on how to spend it. I don't know yet.
Yeah, exactly. But either way, you know for a fact that this guy is just a mighty superior talent. And it's not just in the Junior Cup where he's proved that. I just end up going back to the Senior Championship and his exploits over there all the time. Normally, a Junior Cup is like a feeder series where you see young talents develop and then you pluck them out and put them in the bigger teams. You know who was already there with DCT Esports. And over there, he's been equally as commanding, equally as dominating. The just the mold for a champion. And the fact that he gets to win scholarship with that and gets to support his education, it's not the best thing you could possibly ask for, right? I mean, as athletes, and I do consider esports as being an athlete, you can just hardly find that balance all the time, especially financially, because of course, once you've got to earn money, it just kind of neglects your studies. But this helps out both the things altogether. And it's fair to say he's earned it 100%. All of it his own effort. And I wondered if he can do something similar when we come back next week for the main Grand Series final.
Yeah, of course. There's the points as they were coming across the line there for the final time. Of course, this is all indeed pending steward's review. So this is certainly not a guarantee the way things will look maybe in an hour or so's time, depending on how long it takes for stewards to sort out not just the issue at the end there, but also various issues throughout the event as well, with a couple of point penalties maybe needing to be applied, or time penalties needing to be sorted out at the very end of the race there. But that's how it stands. Yunho Park P1, Woojin Sin P2, Hee Jung-an P3. We'll have to check the order on those two with regards to the race wins, but we've got Jung-ho Jang in P4, Sung Yong Kang in P5 in points, Kaioli P6, Jung Hyun Choi, Hong So Jang. Junhee Park didn't unfortunately race today, so he stays in P9, and Jin Wook Choi they're down in P10. But as far as things go, that was a pretty intriguing final round of the season, and well, we now get to look for about just under a week's time. 6 days until we get ourselves the finale event for the main AMX Esports Championship.
Honestly, can't wait for that, Connery. That one is just going to be superb. There are so many fights happening over there. It's somewhat of a similar championship where we see DCT and Yunho Park's team having a bit of an edge. But as we saw here today, can you even tell what can happen in the final round? I don't think I can. And there's not just one, but two of those coming in with, importantly, the 3 driver team events. And those ones are things, those ones are events where things could really change up, especially if you say someone like Atlas BX, who's had a good track record there, and now you've not just got one, but 2 of those events coming up where you can really maximize your points. So much going on, so much exciting stuff going on.
Yes, so much to look forward to here in this one, and well, we'll get ourselves all sorted out for it, because when it comes to that main AMX Esports Championship, that is going to be basically a double header in terms of offline events. So we get the events back to back, and 3 races per day, a whole bunch of points on the line as well. So if you're feeling like as a team you're maybe a little bit too far back of the teams ahead of you on points right now, that's not necessarily going to be the case at the end of that double header event. You know, there's so many points on offer that, you know, a string of bad races for one team could really bring another team back into the picture, which is why DCT Esports just can't get complacent.
Yeah. You're so right about that. I'll take everyone's mind back to Formula E when they had their big run of races in Berlin. But so many teams just had a vastly different championship over there. So many teams were able to adapt so much better than the other ones. And I remember Mahindra Racing, was the team I follow the most closely, they weren't quite able to adapt to Berlin as well in the first run of half, when we had, of course, 6 races at Berlin last season. And so they were in a good position around P5, but they dipped down to P8 in the championship just because they couldn't adapt to one race weekend This is going to be something similar. You just can't have an off day. You just can't slip everything up because if you do, I mean, that's just a big hole of points going away from you in just one shot.
Yep, it absolutely is. Well, with that, of course, we can, of course, still talk about the event that's still to come. Of course, next week we have we have the double header finale that we've been talking about, and we will see some of the competitors that we see here today. Yunho Park in particular, with the DCT Esports team, who has been one of the drivers of that team that has really propelled them up the standings, up into a championship contending position here at this stage. But again, he can't rest on his laurels. He's got his teammates in the other car, in the sister car, to be concerned about. He has the Atlas BX cars also that have been potent at some races so far this season. So it's never a guarantee for that it's going to be a DCT car that wins the outright championship. And it's good going with that unknown into a live event where it's an event full of unknowns. You know, it's you don't know necessarily how people are going to perform on a live stage. You know, on a rig that they're not used to, that's not the same as the one at home. So you know, these are all topics that we touched on with that first live event. But you know, the exact same situation is is happening for the finale event as well. So we'll see how the adaption element comes into it, and of course the random element of the influencer.
Exactly. You read my mind, Conor. You seriously do all the time. The influencers won't be practicing. It's clear. They're not. I mean, a lot of them are hardcore racing fans. A lot of them have actually had history in the world of motorsport. But how many influencers will you actually see getting on iRacing and practicing for the last 2 months for their races? I doubt there would be many. And the fact is, that's the difference. If there are even a couple who have been doing that, the difference will be vast and you will see it clearly. They're like your AM drivers. Like, that's where the biggest variable is. And so the teams will be working extra hard in this coming week to try and make sure that the influencers are super ready, because that is really where I think the championship could be won or lost in genuine sense.
Yeah, I think so too. It might come down to one of those races where the influencers are involved, because there's not necessarily an influencer event here for these final rounds. Of course, you know, the drivers probably prefer, the teams would probably prefer to them to compete in the 3-driver race, you know, so that their impact is somewhat limited on the entire situation. But we'll see what the plan is for any particular driver or team in that situation. I'm just gonna cycle things through, or circle back, shall we say, to use a very businessy term, to the Junior Cup, because of course, you know, we've had the season done and in the books now. Of course, it's more complicated by the situation that with that tie for P2. It's more complicated by the situation by the fact that Hee Jung-han and Junho Jang, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they have 2 races apiece. So it would have to go down to the seconds, the amount of second places, which I don't have easily to hand at the moment. So I'm hoping that what was shown on the graphic there was indeed absolutely accurate. But yeah, that is absolutely, it's absolutely crazy. It was so close. Of course, you know, we would like it with a little bit less outside influence. But just to sum things up here with this Junior Cup season, we'll be wrapping up in just a couple of moments' time, Sumo. It's great to see these young drivers put on a show, get the opportunity to be able to showcase their skills, because they, you know, don't often get you know, the opportunity to, you know, so sometimes the chances to race just aren't there, especially on a big stage with a broadcast and things like that. And for these drivers, that's a good learning experience to learn how to deal with the pressure and the entire situation of doing this type of competitive sim racing.
Exactly. And let's for instance look at any winning Le Mans lineup, right? Who does it usually consist of? Some very experienced drivers surrounding a gun driver, someone who's young, someone who's had the raw pace. And how would someone who has a raw pace just adjust to a big circumstance like that? You just go in there and you feel the pressure, so you get used to it until you become the experienced winner. This is what's happening for the junior drivers, right? They're getting used to a circumstance like this. iRacing official events are there, but do they have the same pomp and circumstance about them? They don't. I mean, the pressure you feel by being in a national championship is the pressure you feel While being in a national championship, it cannot be simulated. And more than pressure, even though you might not be the best this time, at least you've been in this situation before. At least you know what it takes so that you can come back in and just be better at that. And this is what all the junior drivers need because they've got time on their hands. And that's the best part.
Absolutely. So for Yunho Park, though, he gets himself a bit of money to help with the studies. So there we go. But with that, we do, of course, have to end at this point. Thank you very much to absolutely everyone who's been watching here. This one, I've been Connery Medic. I've been joined by Sumal Aurora for the AMX Esports Junior Cup. But that's not the end of AMX Esports Racing over the next couple of weeks because, well, next week we have the main events, the finale for the AMX Esports Championship proper. The big championship with a whole bunch of prize money on the line. And it's going to be particularly super exciting to see who comes out on top in that one. But of course, here at RaceSpotTV, we do unfortunately have to say goodbye, adios, bye-bye, whatever it is in Korean, I can't exactly remember. But either way, we'll see you next week for the main championship.